Entitled sister loses it when I decline to buy her an $8,000 designer wedding dress, ghosts me for months, then begs to join my surprise European honeymoon. My spoiled little sister completely lost it when I told her I was not about to shell out $8,000 for some designer wedding dress. She ignored me for months, acting like I did something unforgivable, until she somehow found out I had planned a surprise honeymoon trip across Europe for her and her husband. And just like that, she was back, suddenly desperate to patch things up. Now, before I get into all that, let me give you some background. My sister and I have a pretty big age gap, 11 years. I am 36 now, and she just turned 25. To put it bluntly, she was not exactly part of the plan. Not that I was either. Our parents had me at 20, barely old enough to take care of themselves, let alone a kid. But then, more than a decade later, they decided to have another baby. And since she was the youngest in the family by far, they spoiled her to the point of no return. I never held it against her. I mean, I was already a teenager when she was a baby, and later, when I was in college, she was still playing with dolls. It is not like we were ever in competition. In fact, I spoiled her too. Our parents are both dentists, and I followed in their footsteps not because they pushed me into it, but because I actually liked it. My sister, on the other hand, had dreams of being an actress. And guess who fought for her when our parents said no? Yeah, that was me. I convinced them to let her enroll in film school, even though they thought it was a ridiculous and risky career path. I promised them that if she never made it big, I would make sure she was okay. And that was not the first time I had to back her up. When she was a teenager, I was always the one convincing our parents to let her go to parties, stay out late, travel with her friends, you name it. I had her back, always. If she messed up, I took the heat. That was how much I cared about her. Looking back, that might have been a mistake. Because all that love and protection turned her into the person she is today, entitled, self-absorbed, and completely incapable of handling the word no. We hoped she would grow out of it. She did not. Somehow, despite that attitude, she still managed to find a guy who wanted to marry her. Her boyfriend of 2 years, now her husband, proposed about 8 months ago. Last week, they got married. I was not invited. Why? Because of the dress. When she first got engaged, she was beyond excited. And so was I. I was probably more excited than anyone in the family. She called me first after the proposal, and I spent every weekend helping her plan the wedding. We all knew this wedding was going to be a massive production because that is just who my sister is. She is flashy. The bigger, the better. The problem? She is still struggling to make it as an actress and does not have the kind of money to afford the wedding she wanted. So, of course, our parents covered most of the costs. Her fiancé's family chipped in too. They are pretty well off, and since he is an engineer with a solid job, money was not a huge concern for him either. I offered to buy her wedding dress. Figured she would pick something beautiful but reasonable. Plus, I have a friend who owns a bridal boutique, and she promised me a discount on anything we bought. My sister was totally on board until she was not. A few weeks later, she changed her mind. She wanted a designer gown. A fancy one. And it was going to cost $8,000. Now, under normal circumstances, I might not have cared that much. But here is the thing, I had already planned to give her and her husband an all-expenses-paid honeymoon across Europe. This was supposed to be a surprise. She had always dreamed of seeing Europe, so I figured this would be the perfect wedding gift. And that trip? It was going to cost a lot more than $8,000. So, yeah, I was not about to throw down that kind of money on a dress she would wear once, especially when I was already planning something way bigger for her. I told her exactly that. I even reminded her about my friend's boutique, where she could get a custom-made dress that looked just like the one she wanted, but for a fraction of the price. She did not care. If it was not designer, she did not want it. We argued. I stood my ground. She sulked. She refused to even say goodbye when I left. I figured she just needed time to cool off. I thought she would come around. But she did not. Days went by, then a week. She still would not talk to me. I considered calling her and explaining about the honeymoon, just to make her understand why I was not willing to spend so much on a dress. But I did not want to ruin the surprise. On the 6th day, I finally decided to reach out. But before I could, she called me first. At first, I thought she was going to apologize. Maybe she had realized she was being ridiculous. Maybe she wanted to make up. Nope. She called me just to insult me. She straight up demanded to know why I was being such a cheapskate when I had plenty of money and could easily afford the dress. Before I even got a word in, she hit me with, "It is not like you have a husband or kids to take care of. What do you even need all that money for?" I remember that line exactly as she said it. It was low. Real low. And I did not expect it from her. She knew how I felt about that topic. I have chosen to stay single. I have chosen not to have kids. And that is my business. But people love to comment on it like it is some kind of tragedy. It is one of those things I have learned to tune out, but hearing it from my own sister? That cut deep. She said it on purpose, too. Just to hurt me. And it worked. I had never told her no before. Never. And the first time I do, this is how she reacts? I told her she had no right to speak to me like that, especially when I was still the one paying for her wedding dress. You know what she said? She said she was giving me something to do with my empty life by letting me buy her things. That was it. That was my breaking point. That is when she hit me with the worst insult of all. She said I was just jealous because she was getting married while I was pushing 40 and still single. I did not even argue. I just hung up. I could not believe she would go that low. I had done so much for her over the years, defended her, fought for her, protected her, and this was how she saw me? As some bitter, lonely loser? It stung more than I wanted to admit. I will be real with you, I cried. Not because of the dress, but because I finally realized my sister was not the person I thought she was. After that, we did not speak. My parents tried to reassure me that she would come around, but they refused to actually do anything about it. They did not want to take sides, which really just meant they were letting her act like a brat with zero consequences. 2 months passed. I started to accept that maybe she really was done with me. Then the wedding invitations started going out. Everyone in the family got one. Everyone except me. That was when it hit me, she was serious. She had no intention of inviting me to her wedding. Over a dress. And let me tell you, that cut deep. I had gone above and beyond for her my whole life. I had done more for her than any brother should have to, and now, just because I had the nerve to say no one time, I was shut out completely. I was angry, I was hurt, but mostly, I was just done. I blocked her on everything, social media, my phone, everything. If she wanted to pretend I did not exist, I was happy to return the favor. I kept in touch with my parents, though. A couple of months ago, we went out to dinner, and after a few too many glasses of champagne, I let it slip why I had refused to buy the dress in the first place. I told them about the honeymoon I had been planning to surprise her with, the one she would have loved more than anything. I made them promise not to tell her. Of course, they told her. Flash forward to a week ago, the morning of her wedding. 6 o'clock in the morning, to be exact. I was dead asleep when the doorbell started going off like crazy. I groggily checked my phone. No missed calls, no texts. Just the doorbell ringing non-stop. I dragged myself out of bed, checked the intercom, and yep. There she was. My sister. I had not seen her in months, and there she was, all done up, looking like she had walked straight out of a bridal magazine. I did not open the door. I called her instead. The second she picked up, she went into this ridiculously sweet, polite voice, asking me to let her in. I told her, straight up, that I did not want to see her. She was stunned. I could hear the embarrassment in her voice. But I did not care. I had spent my whole life putting up with her attitude, and I was not going to let her waltz back into my life just because she needed something from me. She kept pushing. Said she wanted to make amends and personally invite me to the wedding. I was not buying it. Why now? After all these months of ignoring me, why would she show up on my doorstep, uninvited, on the morning of her wedding? Then it clicked. I asked her if she had talked to Mom. She hesitated for a second, then said yes. That was all I needed to hear. I knew, without a doubt, that she had found out about the honeymoon. That was why she was here. Not because she missed me. Not because she felt bad. She just wanted the trip. I asked her straight up, "Did Mom tell you about the gift?" Another pause. Then, finally, she admitted it. And that was it. That was all I needed to hear. If she had lied, if she had even pretended she was there because she actually cared, I might have caved. But no. She told the truth. She was here because she wanted the trip, and if she had never found out about it, she would not have been here at all. I told her to leave. She flipped out. Said I could not just shoo her away like that on her wedding day. She even had the nerve to say I should be grateful that she came in person to invite me, even though she was now going to be late to her own wedding. That was when I snapped. I told her I did not ask her to come. I did not care about the wedding anymore. If I was there or not, it made no difference to me. She got mad. Started yelling at me over the phone, saying I was overreacting, that I was being too proud and acting like a victim. I hung up. The next thing I heard was her screaming "You be asterisk 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 D" from outside my door before kicking it. I almost called the cops, but I was too tired. She drove off after that, and I went back to bed. A few hours later, my phone started buzzing again. I answered without thinking, assuming it was work. It was not work. It was my sister's husband. And he was not alone. The second I said hello, I heard a group of voices start laughing and cursing me out. Her husband, his friends, all of them. They went on for 10 seconds straight, calling me every name in the book, just having the time of their lives mocking me. I hung up. Then I called my mom. She immediately started apologizing. Said she had told my sister about the honeymoon because she thought it would help fix things. Yeah. That worked out great. I asked her about the phone call I had just received. She had no idea. Apparently, she and my dad had been outside taking pictures, completely unaware of what was happening. I was not surprised. This was exactly the kind of petty, childish thing my sister would pull. For the next couple of hours, I just sat in my room, trying to cool down. I thought about calling the cops, but honestly, what was the point? They would get a slap on the wrist, and I would look like the bad guy for ruining my sister's wedding day. So, instead, I decided to do something for myself. I booked the Europe trip. For me. Out of pure spite, I booked my flights that night. And just to make it even better, I invited one of my closest friends to come with me. He said yes immediately. He was always up for an adventure. It was not just about revenge. I had been playing it safe my whole life, always putting others first, always making sure my sister got whatever she wanted. For once, I wanted to do something just for me. And you know what? I did. This trip was not just about proving a point to my sister, it was something I had been thinking about for a while. Life had started feeling a little too routine, too predictable, and I wanted something to shake things up. I had never been the kind of person to just pack up and take off, especially not on a whim, but this time, I decided I was going to do it. So 3 days ago, my friend and I boarded a plane, and now here I am, sitting in a cafe in France, enjoying a croissant and watching the world go by. I have been posting pictures and updates on social media, knowing full well that word would get back to my sister eventually. We do not share a lot of the same friends, but a good number of her friends still follow me online. I deliberately left them on my friends list, just waiting for one of them to run and spill the news to her. And, surprise, surprise, that is exactly what happened. My mother called me this morning, her voice tight, like she had been bracing herself for an explosion. She told me my sister had seen my posts and had completely broken down. Apparently, she had been crying for hours, devastated that I had rubbed the trip in her face. I almost laughed. Now she cares? Now she is upset? After months of ignoring me and treating me like garbage, suddenly, she is heartbroken because I decided to do something nice for myself? My mother told me she understood why I did it, but she also made it clear she did not approve. She said I should have thought about the fact that I am older and should have been more mature about the situation. That maybe I should have handled things differently. Right. Because maturity only applies to me. Because I was supposed to be the bigger person, while my sister got to act like a spoiled brat without consequences. According to my mom, my sister is inconsolable. Now, my parents, extended family, and even a few of my own friends are saying I went too far. That I should not have been so petty. And honestly? I do not know. Maybe I was. Maybe I took it too far. But at the same time, I do not feel bad. So tell me, am I the bad guy for taking this trip and letting my sister see exactly what she missed out on? Update 1. Hey everyone, I just wanted to say thanks for all the comments and messages. A lot of people reassured me that I was not in the wrong, and honestly, that helps more than I expected. Some of you called me out for spoiling my sister too much, and I completely agree. I did too much for her. I was way too lenient. I kept telling myself that, because we were family, she would never turn on me the way she treated other people. But I was wrong. And now that I am really looking at it, I am realizing just how unfairly my parents have treated both of us. Just because I am older does not mean my feelings matter less. They ignored me when I was hurt over my sister's actions, but the second she was upset, they jumped in to comfort her. That is not fair. I have not confronted them about it yet, but I think I will the next time my mother calls. I know she will, sooner or later. Or maybe my dad will, since he was whispering to her the whole time during our last phone call. He had a lot to say, but he did not want to be officially involved. I had not mentioned this before because I did not think it was relevant, but now, I just need to vent. I am still on my trip, smiling and enjoying my time with my friend, but deep down, this whole situation is still weighing on me. Update 2. Well, my mother finally called me today after nearly 3 weeks. Not to apologize, because of course not, but to tell me that she and my dad decided it would be best if we did not see each other for a while because my sister was too upset. So, to be clear, they were completely fine ignoring my feelings, but now that my sister is sad, suddenly they are taking action. And if that was not bad enough, she also told me that she and my dad are paying for my sister to go on a luxury vacation to Bali to make her feel better. I was stunned. After everything, after all the excuses they made about staying out of it, now they were stepping in. But only to comfort her. Only to make sure she got something nice to replace what she had lost. I told my mom that I was so happy she was finally playing the role of a concerned mother. Too bad she had not done the same for me when I was upset over my sister's behavior. Then I hung up. My dad texted me afterward, saying I had crossed the line with my attitude toward my mother and that I needed to fix my behavior if I wanted to stay on good terms with the family. I texted back, "Cry me a river." Then I blocked him. I am done trying to win their approval. I spent too much time chasing after their validation, bending over backward for my sister, and what did it get me? Nothing. So now, I am just going to enjoy my vacation. I had not told my friend about everything that was happening because I did not want to ruin our trip. But today, I finally told him everything. And you know what? He told me exactly what I needed to hear. That I was not the problem. My family was. They had a favorite, and it was not me. And it never would be. So why should I waste my time trying to fix something that was never going to change? Now, I know. And I am okay with it. Update 3. I just got back from my trip. 6 whole weeks of traveling across Europe, and I have to say, it completely changed me. I do not mean to sound dramatic, but I feel like a brand new person. And you know what? I do not care that my parents disinherited me. Yes. You read that right. They actually told me I was out of their will. And I just shrugged. I make my own money. I do not need them. Oh, and here is another twist. Remember that friend I went on vacation with? We are together now. It happened a week ago. We were drinking wine, relaxing after a long day, and out of nowhere, he told me he had been crushing on me for years. I was shocked. We have been friends for 8 years. I had always had feelings for him too, but I never said anything because I did not want to risk ruining our friendship. Turns out, he felt the same way. So now we are together. And I have never been happier. Looking back at all the drama with my sister, my parents, all of it, I am glad I went on this trip. I needed this vacation for me. Not for revenge. Not to make a statement. For me. And I would not change a single thing.